Cho Marona Koi Koi. Welcome into the show, respected guests, bloods of my blood, to the Blood of the Podcast. I am your host, Kyle, better known as KW Dent.
Bante sobre isa seo signo tilates. Rohala, it's Lady Triple, also known as Christina.
Rohala, guys, welcome in to the show. Crazy week here, I know. I hope everybody's doing well under quarantine now. This is our second quarantine episode now, essentially. Christina, how's it been for you? I know not too much of a difference to your lifestyle, luckily. But yeah, how's this week been for you?
Yeah, honestly, you know what? I hate to say it. I've been so busy. I've been so busy, like between work. So I work from home full time. So I'm just that's kind of chugging along at a deadline this week, and then also preparing for the podcast and doing content for our Lip Bringers at Lip Bringers on Twitter. Follow us. We're doing parody songs for Song of Madness, and between all of that, I feel like my social and my time has just been sucked up. So good timing for everything.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So we went work from home just at the very beginning of this week, and I do have a digital job, so it is something that we're able to do from home. And the transition's been pretty good, to be honest. I have been, like you said, busier than I expected. I've actually been very busy working from home pretty much all week, and then putting the podcast on and doing stuff within the fandom that we do. But yeah, very, very strange world. We're lucky to be here today, though, covering A Song of Madness. We're starting to get into the nitty gritty. Our stats are getting a little bit more interesting. We've got some factors that are going to start to be, really cool to look at moving forward. So, yeah, I think we're ready to jump on in here. We are covering today the second half of the second round. So if you wanted to go back, listen to the rest of our coverage, go back and listen to that on iTunes or SoundCloud. Leave us a review while you're there if you would like. But moving on to the second half here of the second round. For our first matchup, we had Daenerys Targaryen versus Sir Duncan the Tall. This was a big matchup out of the Big Shots bracket right off the bat. Two really beloved characters that also perform very well in the tournament, Daenerys and Sir Duncan. This one had some stats that are going to really play through the rest of the tournament. Daenerys did win, and big win here for Daenerys. Big win. She got 2,006 total votes, and that is the most votes a character has gotten so far in the tournament, and by a wide margin, as we'll cover later here. But she got 62.1% of the vote against Sir Duncan the Tall. So a healthy win here. What did you think about this one, Christina?
I was really pleasantly surprised, I suppose. At least after last year, I thought, I forget when Daenerys fell last year, but it was pretty early. It was earlier than I would have thought for a major character. And for her to come out with the biggest, showing votes wise of round two was really surprising. And I stand. I'm here for that.
I am too. I'm really kind of pulling for Dany here. I know from season 8, Daenerys has had a rough year within the fandom, I suppose. And it's cool to see that people rallied around her, and more so too, not even just that she won, right? She wasn't facing somebody that, you can kind of toss aside and say, oh, well, she was against Roose Bolton or whoever. Sorry, Roose Bolton stands. But, Sir Duncan the Tall, who is our knight who remembered his vows. This is a guy who, coming into the round, had the most votes gained, or one of the most votes. I guess I don't remember exactly.
So he was number one. He was number one on the number of votes in round one. So for her to beat him and get the highest number of votes we've seen in the entire bracket so far, I thought was a really amazing thing, and has definitely got me, knowing that I underestimated her.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Dunk had a previous margin of 84%, which was incredibly high. 84% margin of victory, and Dany wins not even close, right? 62.1% of the vote to 37.9, which again was a 24% margin. So really good. 24% against Dunk, very impressive. She goes up against Jon Snow, who, man, we've got some big ones right off the top of the episode here, because Jon Snow is right up there with her. But still a little behind. He had 1,784 votes, so 1,784 votes against Cersei Lannister. Actually, here, before we go, we do have, did you want to read our tweet regent for the week here on this
Yes.
matchup?
Our tweet regent for Daenerys and Sir Dunk was Benioff and Weiss, one of our favorites.
Breakout account this year.
Yeah.
Breakout account.
Yeah, glad that they graced us with their presence for this. They say Dunk is so-called thick as a castle wall, but it was his quick thinking at Summerhall that saved Princess Rhaella. So castle walls are not thick. We showed this in season 8, episode 5, when King's Landing's walls disintegrated like wet cotton candy, even to just nearby dragon fire.
It's them, man. Right? It's David and Dan behind this account. I'm like, wouldn't be shocked if they were like, it's us spoofing ourselves, honestly.
It's them or it's somebody with a big bone to pick. But either way, I've been loving their commentary.
I know. It's tough. I go into every matchup and like when we're trying to pull these tweets, I'm like, I could just pull theirs for every single matchup. Maybe we'll do an episode like that. No, we probably won't. But so yeah, talking about Jon Snow versus Cersei, I was really interested in this matchup. I wanted Cersei to win just for this. I knew she wasn't going to, and she didn't. Jon kind of ran away with it. He got 68.5% of the votes. That was a margin of 37%. I guess Cersei got a little bit more of the vote than I really expected, considering she was against Jon Snow. But Jon did get 1,700 votes. We don't have that many people that were over that margin. So a healthy performance for Jon Snow. But again, he is now going up against Daenerys. So this is a heavyweight matchup in this next round. One that could potentially be toxic on Twitter. Guys, Jon stands, Dany stands. Be nice to each other. I'm looking at you. Eyes on. Yes. Be nice to each other.
Stark or Targaryen, it doesn't matter. You can be both. You can be both.
You can be both. Yes, Theon. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, this was I was looking at like previous margin of victories to characters here, and it's interesting, you know, that Cersei beat Rhaegar by 5%, so that was a pretty close one. And then she did manage to get 31.5% of the vote against Jon. I think what we're seeing now, not to a factor that it's disrupting anything so far, but some of these show-only characters are getting not... I think last year, Jon versus Cersei, Jon would have gotten a higher percent of the vote than he got this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Maybe not, but it's a little bit closer. So Jon versus Dany, I guess if we're looking at our predictive stats, let's break that down here between these two. Now, our predictive stats are not quite stable yet. We need at least one more round of data to stabilize those stats. But what do you think between these two? Because we've got an average margin where Daenerys at 24%, Jon at 37%. So Jon's got that higher average margin of victory. However, Daenerys is at 2,006 total votes to Jon's 1,784. So a lot of votes for Jon still, but Dany did have quite a few more people vote for her.
You know, if you would have asked me, and I think we've talked about this one before, if you would have asked me, I would have said, and I was saying to, people I talked about it, okay, well, I think Daenerys is going to lose to Jon Snow by a lot. Now, when I look at these numbers, I am not so sure anymore. I think it's going to be a great competition. But yeah, again, the stats are not stabilized yet. So like our win margin and, number of votes, we only have one round to look at. Yeah. And, Jon was against Cersei. It wasn't like that big of a, he won by a healthy margin. So it wasn't like people were, using like their 10 ult accounts on this one. Right. But I think it could be, I think this could be, get your ult accounts ready. I think this is probably going to be one of the closer ones and more interesting ones of round 3. But
yeah, I would totally agree. We'll see how that one pans out. Could shape the rest of the tournament as well, certainly, whoever comes out of that one. Our tweet regent on this one was Brotherhood Without Manners at Manners Without. I'm voting for Cersei because you can't stop me, which is what that sounds like in my head. And I agree. I did vote for Cersei in this one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think I said something like Jon is boring. I'm sorry, Jon. I love Jon Snow. Jon's not boring. Jon's one of the most interesting characters in the entire series. His A Dance with Dragons arc is probably my if not my favorite arc, one of my favorite arcs. But within the context of the tournament, I've seen him. It's the same reason why I'm against Arya Stark. But anyway, we'll cover that later here. Our next matchup in the support staff department here, we had Melisandre versus Braun. Mel runs away with it in this one, which I'm glad about. Really enjoy Mel. She got 1,100 votes here, 1,131 votes to defeat Braun by a margin of, where is our 35%? Yeah, so 35% on this one. Yeah, I'm not surprised Mel won this one. She is going to move on to face Missandei, but any surprise Mel beats Braun here? I wasn't too shocked.
No, I love Mel. She's one of my favorite characters in the whole series. Her chapter in A Dance with Dragons is one of my favorites as well. So really excited to see her do well. And looking at the stats, I'm a little scared about Missandei, which we'll talk about in our next matchup. Because she seems to be a bigger contender than I thought.
Yeah, I think we're seeing. I think we're seeing some show influence here with Missandei's ending in the show. It's always interesting, and we've talked kind of behind the scenes with Matt and Scat about this. With, how are people going to, and not just individual people, but how are the masses going to respond to certain people within the context of this tournament to what has happened within the fandom over the past year, whether that be the show, Fire and Blood, anything like that. When we get a new book, which hopefully by the time we're sitting here talking next year, maybe we'll have another book. I don't know. We'll see. But I do. Yeah,
knock on your weirwood.
Knock on your weirwood, right? But yeah, Missandei is certainly having a good performance here. But before we move into that matchup, yeah, Melisandre, I think, and we've talked about this before, Christina, her one chapter in Dance with Dragons is, kind of eye-opening if you hadn't read it before and you had never been in Mel's head. It's really interesting just to see her thoughts, because throughout the rest of the story, you're kind of wondering exactly what her motivation is, right? Does she really believe in what she's preaching, right? And then you get in her head and you realize that she does. She totally believes in this mission that she's on, and to hear that, she's a lot more sympathetic than you would have expected before you did get in her point of view. So we also do expect, I think George has said, that we're going to get more Melisandre point of view chapters in The Winds of Winter and, A Dream of Spring, whenever, if she's alive at that point or when we get that or whatever. But like Melisandre, she is moving on against the aforementioned Missandei, who got 1,282 votes here. Actually, let me read the tweet region here. I keep skipping over our tweet regions. I'm very sorry, tweet regions. I'll read this one. Our tweet regent here for this matchup was Joe Magician, our good friend Joe, who said, "My reaction, they're both immoral, ends justify the means, terrible people, but one can do magic in smolders," which I agree.
What can you do? I love the magic people. Brawlhalla, baby. Burning hearts,
Mel.
baby. Burning heart. All right.
Yep. So then we did have, moving into Missandei. I forgot who she faced, and now I'm sad. I forgot I'm supposed to hate Missandei. I have to lean into the bit here. Missandei took down fandom favorite, but apparently not as favorite as I thought, Nimble Dick Crab. What happened, Christina?
Missandei is a power player, apparently. I mean, she had 1,330 votes. That is a lot. And Nimbledick had 999. He lost by 331 votes. Not enough alt accounts for that victory. And she had 57.1%. And I mean, it was a 14% margin. So, for a tough competitor, Nimbledick definitely did give her a run for the money. And as you can see here now, this is her second round. So this is the first time you can really see these win margins kind of stabilizing. Her previous win margin was 63% versus Davin Lannister. And now she's at 39. So this is a little bit more telling of her power. And again, her number of votes too was pretty stable throughout both of the rounds. Now her average is 1,282. Her last round she was in like the 1200s, so she got more this round, but from round to round, her votes were pretty consistent. They were like within 100 votes.
Yeah.
From round 1 to round 2. So it seems like these metrics, if these characters come back with similar showings, you might be able to kind of predict what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, very good example, like you said, that it's nice that we have at least a couple round 1 characters who have moved on because we have multiple rounds of data. So we have a pretty good idea how many votes Masande is going to get next round. She's probably going to get somewhere between 1,100 to 1,250 votes, maybe a little bit more. So you look at her upcoming opponent and you can say, okay, is this person expected to get more than that amount of votes? And you can then kind of determine who's going to win that matchup. And that same methodology is then going to work moving forward, where we can say average margin of victory, total number of votes. You can weigh the two of them and see who do we expect to win that one. Who does she have coming up next? Do you have that in front of you, Christina?
Melisandre.
Of course, Melisandre, yeah. So looking at these two, then that's the point I was trying to get to. So Masande is now at 1,282 average votes with a 39% average margin. Melisandre, again, only one round of data on Mel, but 1,131 votes, so lower than Masande, and 35% average margin, also lower than Masande. So a little surprising to look at those numbers and see that by the stats, Mel's the underdog. I guess. What do you think, Christina? Do you think Masande can take this one, or have Mel's stats just not caught up with her yet? Or they're not stabilized yet?
Well, when I look at the number of votes, if they both have a similar showing, it's going to be close. Like for this one, I'm just going to say this could potentially be a close toss-up round, where I thought, if you asked me before, the bracket happened and how this would move, I would not think Masande would stand much of a chance against Mel, but we'll see how the round goes. I'm really curious to see how, now that we're, able to sort of, put kind of question mark predictions on these, to see how they come out against what the data's looking like, before the match happens. And you know what? This might be, and I'm looking at like the Danny support, the Masande support, and to get to our tweet region, this might be the Denizzo effect. Because Denizzo, part of, at Lipbringers, she's coming out hard with, I'm sorry, this was the certified jam/anthem, Masande, the Butterfly song. Did you hear that one?
I did, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, you're my butterfly, interpret, baby. I've had that in my head all day, and it might be the Denizzo effect. So Denizzo, you are tweet region. Thank you for gracing us.
Thank you very much for gracing us, yeah. Yeah, Masande with that Danny effect. Maybe we're seeing, we saw a Stark effect last year. Maybe we're seeing a Targ effect or a Danny effect this year. Yeah, that'll be interesting. R.I.P. Nimble Dick. I'm surprised, and I won't go on with this too long, but like I was saying, I thought Nimble Dick might be able to take this round, and he lost to Masande, and it wasn't like a 50-50, it was close, but he lost by 14%. So
yeah, 331 alt accounts you needed.
Yep. So start making them for next year, guys. 331. If all of us just make, a couple.
If all of us make 10 more. Okay.
10 more, yeah. In our Warriors round, we had Stannis Baratheon versus Corrin Halfhand. I had my eyes on this one. Interesting matchup. I really like Corrin Halfhand. Obviously, I expected Stannis would take it, which he did. 69.6% of the vote. Win margin of 39% there. Corrin Halfhand, you're repping your Stannerman over there.
Yep. I'm a Stannerman for life.
Hey, Stannis got to win a round this year. Good for him.
Oh, he's going to win more than one. Are you kidding me?
We'll see. I do expect he'll win his next matchup here. Corrin Halfhand, before we move on from you, Corrin, I do really love what Corrin serves to the story. I think he is, and of course many people have said this, that he's this analog for Jaime potentially with, learning with his offhand and joining the watch. And I think people look at that and say that in the books, that could be where Jamie ends up going, learning with his left hand. And Jamie could end up going to the Watch, I believe, towards the end of the books. We'll see. I have no fucking clue at this point, I suppose. But yeah, no surprise that Stannis wins here. He did get 1,300 votes. So we'll see. I do think so.
Missandei got more votes than Stannis. Yeah, I'm upset, guys.
Yep. That's what I'm saying is this. I still kind of think this is Stannis underperforming. And I'm sorry, Stannis Standerman, Christina. 1,300 votes, like you said, Missandei outperformed him. And nothing against Missandei either.
When is he up? I've got more days to make all accounts.
I do think Stannis is safe next round. I did want to read our tweet regent for this matchup, which was post-op Malone at Ian Thomas Malone. She said, Corin gave his life so John could lose his virginity, the most noble death in all of ASOM, which just got me. That was a funny one. Thank you, Corin. John appreciates it.
Yes.
But
I know. I never thought about it that way. Like, he would have never lost his V card. Never thought about it.
Yeah.
Like that, at least. So, thanks, Corin. Thanks, Post-Op Malone, for letting me know.
And then Stannis moves on against Daemon Blackfire, correct?
Or no, isn't it Daemon? Aemon, or no. No, you're right. Sorry, I get them confused. I was getting them confused. Or is it? It might be Aemon Black breaks.
Is it Baelor Breakspear? Yeah, it must be. Okay.
No, wait. Let me look. I have it up.
We're gonna live
Daemon
check.
Blackfire. No. We were right. Okay, I was just making sure. Daemon Blackfire. Yes.
It is Daemon Blackfire.
Yes, we just had the Daemon Bowl.
We did. That's what I thought. Yeah, I'm looking for the Daemon Bowl. Or is the Daemon Bowl's on the previous episode?
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about it. Okay. Got it. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. It's madness up in here. Don't worry.
It's madness, man. Yeah. Our next matchup, we had Bloodraven versus Baelor Breakspear. I really like this matchup. This is two really interesting historical characters, very different because Bloodraven is still very much so a part of the canon, whereas Baelor is this perfect prince character from the Dunk and Egg novellas. But Bloodraven, and I'm glad here Bloodraven did move on. One of my favorite. I don't want to call like Bloodraven a tertiary character. He's a secondary character who plays a major role over the story. 1,100 votes, 1,116 votes. Baelor, you might be the perfect prince, but he only managed 591 votes, which is really low to not break over 600 votes. So that did lead to Bloodraven with a 31% margin on that one, 1,700 votes in this total. Yeah, I think Bloodraven still has a pretty good shot in this bracket, I guess. I think he's still one of the favorites. I don't know if he'll win this bracket, but I think he'll make it far in the players bracket. He is going to be up next against Marjorie Tyrell. But before we get to Marjorie, we have our tweet regent, Curtsy While You Tweet, good friend who I know I've interacted with on Twitter for a long time, who tweeted at us, Bloodraven crawled so that Bran could eat Jojen? Wait, hold on.
I liked that one a lot.
Yeah, I liked that one. And did we talk about Marjorie last week? Last episode?
No, she's coming up, I think. Or no, she's not. We talked about her last time.
We did, yeah.
My apologies, but she's an interesting one because she has 2 rounds under her belt. So so her stats have stabilized a little bit more, and she's, showing up with, a similar amount of vote. She had her average though. So this is 2 rounds average is 1,088. So I can see this one being very close and interesting. I think so too. Especially if they come out, I'm voting for Bloodraven for sure, because gotta love it. Like I don't. There's only a few characters I'd probably vote against Bloodraven for, but Marjorie is not one of them. Sorry.
Yeah, I do think this could be close, but I think Bloodraven is more interesting. It's weird to say, and like show Marjorie, and part of this is because we got more story from the show or further along in the Tyrell storyline. And I think I said this last week, talking shit about Marjorie. I'm sorry, Marjorie. I'm not trying to talk shit about you, but she's not in the books as much as you think
Yeah.
she is. Like, she really just isn't. She only appears in a few chapters. She's mentioned
Yeah,
more in
you don't know
cursive
much
chapters.
about her at
No.
all. And that, like,
Yeah,
Natalie Dormer did an excellent job of
she
kind of
did.
creating her own Marjorie, because I read the books before
Yeah.
that storyline really took off. I read the books before season 2, so when she's in the throne room, like, oh, Joffrey, and she's kind of being portrayed as a player, I was really surprised because I
Yeah.
kind of saw her as like, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes with the Tyrells, but like you don't really know. It's not as apparent. So, yeah, not
Yeah.
not an excellent book character, but the show character is really cool. So it's hard
Yeah.
to see where this one will go. But I think Bloodraven might have this
Yeah.
one.
I think Bloodraven's going to take that one. I think he's a vastly superior book character, but I also think he's a more inferior show character. That's the interesting part. Is Marjorie in the show more interesting?
That's not even him. He didn't have the birthmark in the
Well,
show.
I know it's not Bloodraven in the show. They don't necessarily say it is, but anyway, yeah, I think Bloodraven's going to win that one, and then move on to our next round here as well. So he'll be in our Sweet 16 at that point. We'll see. I've been wrong so far. So, coming back to big shots here, we had Jaime Lannister versus Asha Greyjoy, and a little surprising. And maybe we're seeing a show effect here. Jaime wins, so don't worry if you didn't know that. But Jaime only received 1,228 votes here. I mean, Asha, very good competition, but she, 547 votes, so not a ton of votes either, like we just said with Baelor. Jaime had, less votes than Stannis. Yeah, I guess I'm surprised he didn't have as many. This is our initial winner. Jaime won the first round of
Yeah.
A Song of Madness, remember? And yeah, are you surprised he didn't get more votes here?
Yeah, out of total votes, I mean, he was number 19. Jack and Hagar got 4 votes, actually, in
Wow.
round 2, which is really funny.
Very
But you know
surprised.
what? I think that there might have been other factors happening here. Like, people might just not have seen that, they're not logging into their alt accounts at this
Yeah,
point. Um,
true. Because he did win
and
by a healthy margin, and a couple things too. We talked about this before the episode, but with the virus and everything going around, who knows how that's playing a factor into total number of votes? Are people paying attention to Twitter in the tournament? Our vote counts have appeared to be relatively stable. Again, over 1,700 votes in this one, but I think sometimes, like you said, people see, oh, Jaime versus Asha, oh, he's up by 40%. I don't really need to log in and go vote on my other accounts. And if 50% of the people voting do that, it does result in a lot lower total vote count. So, I mean, totally fine for Jaime. He did win by 38%. Again, he had a bye, so that's his initial win margin here, 38. So pretty healthy. He does move on, but first we had our tweet regent again, Benioff and Weiss making themselves into the dock here, who tweeted at us or tweeted at Davos Fingers. Yara was a respected captain, but as a woman, she was unable to inherit her family's unique bloodline limit. Our research showed that the Greyjoy genetic ability to immediately spawn hundreds of ships, even on islands with no trees, is passed down only through the men like Euron.
I love the our research show. Oh my gosh. Benioff and Weiss, thank you. Thank you again for, I love this like background, and I'm learning things about the canon that I've never thought were possible.
Yeah, me too. Learning lots from the account really gives you insights into how the show, how it was created.
Yes.
God, what a great account. I'm sure that this will not be the last time that they make themselves known on our coverage here. Jaime moves on. We've got a very interesting matchup next time. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. Jaime's going to move on and face Tyrion, who did beat Samwell Tarly. I'm just going to read the tweet regent. That is a hard read. The tweet regent. That is a hard one to say. From this one, which Tyrion versus Sam at Hey Dumped. tweeted, "This is just the George R.R. Martin self-inserts match with both Tyrion and Sam," which was, yeah, this is the George match. But Tyrion did win this one, 1,389 votes casted for him. 5% win margin, so it was close. Sam put up a good match here, but it does put Tyrion up against his brother, right? So this is going to be interesting. What do you think about Tyrion versus Jaime?
Well, I did just take a little look because I was wondering why the Jaime and Asha round didn't, get a lot of votes. Because if you see, he's down under Tyrion on the votes, but I think Jaime's gonna have this next time.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, like I'm looking, that was on Tuesday, was that vote. And I mean, I'm not sure if that's when like things are really kicking up with the virus or what, but just looking at the number of votes for the total match, like Tuesday was a lower day. The biggest number of votes in any match that day was Baelish versus Shay, which we'll get into later, but that was, 2,100, and this one has 2,600. So it just looks like more people were voting, and this was on Wednesday. So it seems like more people might have been voting on Wednesday, and maybe, people were preoccupied with, other things on Tuesday.
Yeah.
To vote. So maybe, yeah. So maybe that has something to do with it. I still would put my money on Jaime for next round having this. But I mean, this one was very interesting where it was kind of going back and forth throughout the day. And then Tyrion, took the win. And I was a little bit surprised. I mean, pretty sure last year Samuel did pretty well. But
yeah.
And Tyrion lost to Bran last year, which was interesting to me. Like, I thought he was going to be performing better. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Jaime's going to win that one. Jaime did have less votes, like 150 less votes or so, but his win margin was significantly higher, 38% versus only 5% here. So,
yeah.
And I
For
think
me, factoring in that it was just a low voting day.
Yeah.
Seems like the numbers the vote count might not be particularly indicative of the match, and we should look more into because if you think I don't know who's a stronger, Asha or Samwell. Maybe Samwell's stronger. He got a lot of votes. But like thinking of Asha only getting like 500 and something, that's pretty odd to me.
Yeah, I think it's odd too. I think, like you said, I do think this was just a low voting day. For whatever reason, perhaps the virus did play an effect on that. But we talked last round. Asha beat Euron. She didn't have like an easy round one matchup. She had a character who's very interesting to the narrative. So, I don't want to like discount Asha. I think she's a very interesting character. She's a point of view character, same as Sam. Sam's certainly a bigger character.
I think she's like I think she's like around. I think she's a Song of Man is like kind of favorite in my opinion. Like she did really well against Euron. So
I do think. I mean, there's about a difference of 1,000 votes in there. So I think that is what it is. I agree. I think Jaime's going to win that one. And people have we've talked about how the perception of Tyrion has changed a little bit, where he's not just this wisecracking good guy. He's a little bit darker of a character who's maybe not as much a hero as you maybe thought he was the first time you watched Game of Thrones, right? I think that opinion's becoming more and more popular within the fandom as he's researched more and covered more. So,
well, it's
not
interesting.
To say that Jaime's not. Yeah.
I'm not going to take credit for this. I was talking with Brian and Michael, and they were saying that they kind of go on like opposite arcs. Like you like Tyrion in the beginning, and Tyrion kind of you don't like him at the end. Kind of like the like the Walter White almost arc. Even though I'm rewatching Breaking Bad and Walter just seems like crap throughout, but whatever. Like Tyrion's the one where you like and you think he's funny and great at the beginning, and then he kind of turns into this like person that you don't like, and Jaime's kind of going opposite of that, where you don't like him at the beginning, and then he's coming like a good guy, a beloved good guy, as it's going on. So it almost seems like they're reversing, they're like mirror images of each other in their arc wise.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, actually, that Tyrion starts off as this very sympathetic character, and he still is, but Jamie's a bad guy. He's very clearly Brand 2. He's thrown out of, Jamie throws him out of a window. That's the bad guy, and so he definitely does have.
But it seems
this
like we've all
redemption
forgiven
arc.
him. So
Yeah,
he was
we'll
meant to
see.
do that. That was fate. That was Blood Raven. It wasn't even Jamie. It was Blood Raven. I don't. Come on.
Blood Raven is full Palpatine. Palpatine, do it, Jamie. Yeah. Well, I do think Jamie's gonna win that one there. Our next matchup, going over to the support staff, we had Maester Amon versus Howland Reed. Amon, we mentioned last episode, does typically do well in this tournament. He did win this one, 73.9% of the vote. He received just shy of 1,200 votes, 1,199 votes cast for himself. I gave him a 48% margin on this one. I expected Amon to win this one. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, gotta love Holland, but Maester Amon's just so beloved, and you actually meet him, and Egg, I dreamed I was old, and you also know him through, you also know him, like, I mean, I read Egg, I dreamed I was old, and then I read that Duncan Egg, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Egg. He's just he kind of intersects a lot of different timelines, and he's and kind of people, he's good with John, he's close with John, he's related to Dany and these ancient Targaryens, and he knows Egg, and he was like beloved person with Egg, but he's also a big member of the Night's Watch. He's kind of in a lot of different places, and he's just wise and kind and smart, and you gotta love him.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with it too. That it's really interesting how he is connected in the story, because he does actually bridge the gap between these other areas of history that we get to see, and that we still have questions about, right? Like his connection with Bloodraven. We just talked about Bloodraven, right? Maester Aemon knew and worked with Bloodraven. He's related to Dany. Like he's very old. He's been around. He's seen a lot. He's in the Duncan Egg tales, or he's talked about in them. So I really like that aspect of, boy, if you could just sit Amon, if you could like pluck a character out of the story and sit them down in a room, and they had to answer all of your questions, Amon would be right at the top of the list, because he does have all that knowledge, right? And he knows a lot about what's going on.
And he's a big link too to John and his heritage. Him and John had a connection, and a really powerful connection together, and they didn't even know that they were related, which is one of the only relatives, or the only relative at this point on the Targaryen end that he's met. But when he's coming to terms with his identity, I think Aemon will be a big, he'll think about him a lot, and that's the kind of person a Targaryen is, not Mad King and all of that.
Yeah, a Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing, right? And here they are. They weren't alone. We had two of them sitting underneath the wall. How about that? That's kind of interesting. Yeah. But you talk about his connection to John, and look, I mean, kind of interesting, right? That he matches up with Howland Reed, who, talk about connections to John, potentially the only person alive who really knows the truth, who was there at John's birth at the Tower of Joy. And that's why I love that Howland Reed is still this character who is so discussed. I mean, think about how discussed Howland Reed is and how expected we are to potentially meet or see him in the novels. And we have in the books, we have never seen Howland Reed for a single second. We've heard descriptions of him. We've had very brief memories of the fact that he was at the Tower of Joy, and he's still this character. Even in the show, we got one scene with him, but and that's just really good writing, both more on George's part, I guess, but on the show's part too, I suppose, that this character still is within at least our fandom zeitgeist, despite the fact that it didn't take George very much page space to put him there. So that's really good writing.
Yeah, and I wanted to lead us into our tweet region.
Yeah.
I guess our next round, Aemon does take on Visenya Targaryen in the next round. We'll go over that before our tweet region, I would imagine. But yeah, Master Aemon goes up to face Visenya Targaryen. This one's interesting. I think Aemon's got it. They have a similar amount of votes, but again, this was a day where people weren't voting as much, that Tuesday. Same with Jamie. But you know, with the vote margins, I think Eamon's got this one over Visenya. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Amon's going to move forward. I do like that we've had a couple of historical characters move. I think one or two now, Alyssane and Visenya that have moved on. But I think Amon, who is kind of both a historical character, like we said, he's in Dunk and Egg, but I think he's going to beat Visenya. Plus, Visenya is, I don't know, I don't want to hit on Visenya, but she's tied to Maegor, like I said, and Amon's not tied to Maegor. So.
Yes. And that leads us into our tweet regent, which is Post-Op Malone again. Couldn't help myself after I saw this. Howland Reed has been self-isolating himself from White Walkers in his swamp for years, the only responsible leader in a swamp, which I thought was a great take. Especially as we're all going through this. I loved it.
Yeah, I saw that one too here in the doc. That is a good one. How accurate, right? Howland Reed is the coronavirus leader that we all deserve.
Yeah, but let's just everybody just calm down, be Howland Reed for a little bit, and we're going to be okay.
Absolutely. Yep, so I don't have too much more on Visenya here. She did put down Miranda Royce this year. Happy Miranda Royce at least made it here into the second round. That was cool, but I do think Amon will win that one.
Yeah.
Let's
move on.
Here. Yeah, we can move on here. We did have a tweet regent for this one from Yennefer of Level. I can't read anything with my sunglasses on, guys.
Yennefer of Vengabus. Well, have you seen The Witcher?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Get out. Why are you here?
I don't.
Okay, I expect you to be fully caught up before the next time we speak. Okay. All right, so Yennefer of Vengabus, our good friend Elle, says, I know any proximity whatsoever to the Starks makes you guys uncritically stan, which I love that. But please, Visenya invented the concept of a king's guard by cutting the king on the face. Name me one other woman who could slice a king and go unpunished. Oh, you can't? I love that.
Cersei slapped Joffrey in the show.
No, doesn't work. All right, moving on.
I won't use show canon. I'm sorry. Please don't at me.
Moving on to one of our most heated matches of round 2. Peter Baelish versus Shay, which this one I'm convinced that it was Brian's at Litbringer's song. He goes in the other room and he's like, I'm gonna make my Littlefinger song. And I'm like, all right. And then, I see it that night and I'm like, wow, this is great. Really happy. Okay, I'll do the captions for it. And everybody's response to it was so funny. They're like, okay, this has been in my head. It's good, but I hate it. It was like people just loved to hate it. Or they hated that they loved it. And I told him, he's like, yeah, I don't think that would I don't think that any of our Litbringer's stuff is really going to turn anything. And I go, well, Peter won by 13 votes, so you might have.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 1% win margin here. You had 50.3% versus Shay's 49.7. 13 votes, guys. This is what this came down to. Yeah. Now Peter moves on with a 1% win margin against Olenna Tyrell, which what do you think is gonna?
He's gonna lose. Yeah.
He's gonna lose bad, but he's got more votes than her, so.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I think he's going down.
I think Olenna's gonna beat him there. It is interesting little matchup here, right? We've got the Purple Wedding perpetrators matchup with Olenna Tyrell and Peter Baelish going on here. But I think you're right, Olenna. She only got 956 votes, but people hate Peter Baelish, and rightfully so. All right. I mean, the guy has bankrupted the realm through, accepting predatory loans from the Iron Bank. Yeah, I think Olenna's going to win this one, personally. We did have a funny. I really liked this tweet we got from. So our tweet regent here on this one from the Frey voting block and from Lizen Arbor. So from Chloe here. Chloe tweeted, "Holy shit, who the fuck is voting Baelish over Shay?" To which the Frey voting block came in and said, "We agree. Lord Baelish claims to be Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. Boo him. Boo. It is good to know you stand with us at Lizen Arbor. Chloe and the Freys. Two of the same. Peas in the pod." Chloe and
Chloe.
the phrase send their regards. Our values are the same. We stand together. So you heard it here. Chloe and the phrase.
Yes,
Chloe
they
and House
stand.
Spray. She's got a summer room there. She stays at the Twins.
Yeah, you heard it. You heard it here first. Yeah, the phrase and Chloe stand together.
Yeah. Chloe
Yeah, I
has a
love that
super
the phrase.
pack with the
I
phrase.
I love that. I may or may not know a phrase.
Who is it?
Really?
I don't know.
I may or may not live with a phrase.
Whoa, what? Who is what? Oh my god.
It's okay, Chloe. I'm having my own war against the phrase, so I understand what it's like. But I thought that this account is super funny, and yeah, I gotta love the troll action here. It's very on brand, and it sounds like it would be Lord Walter Frey, doesn't it? It's super accurate. I love it. I love the kind of trolling here. I love all the different personalities that come out in this through like the different alt accounts, and people are just so creative and funny. So I thought that was a good one. But moving on, let's go to Elena versus Mance, which tears.
For years, Mance. Man, I thought Mance could win this one, but
me too. I mean, it was not super. He only lost by 108 votes, and I liked the comments. People were really getting behind this. Like, Mance brought people together, and Olena's just like, we're like gossiping in the gardens and doing plots where Mance is like saving people's lives and everything, which is why like we were in our own Litbringer song, Join Up with Mance Be Free, this week, which
Be free.
I know that was my stand for Mance, because I favored him in this, or sorry, I personally did. I figured Elena would win, but yeah, she had 956 votes, won by 6%, and Mance had 847 votes. Again, kind of a lower voting round for both of these people. No one broke 1,000.
That's probably one of the only ones where neither participant broke 1,000 votes. That's pretty. I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't imagine there's many of those if there's even another one. But yeah, I thought Mance could win. Oh well, he didn't.
I'm sad. I wish people would just come on, guys, get wild. Leading us to our tweet regent, which is Professor Castle at Sir Buckley, one of our friends, Twitterosty friends. I love this.
I was just gonna say, if you haven't listened to his podcast, Isle of Faces, definitely go listen to it. He's phenomenal over there. I would definitely go listen to Isle of Faces podcast. Really enjoy his sort of style he has with that. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and read his tweet here.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love this take. Who'd make the best NBA ref? Toughie of the day. Elena has experience with 7-footers already. Gotta love that.
I love that.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a reference to her and Dunk, right?
Left and right, her two guards that she has, who she refers to as left and right.
Oh, yes.
7-footer twins, yeah. So very funny.
And definitely isn't going to take any lip. But in the end, I take Mance, because if he can bring all the clans together, he can do it with 30 teams too. And I bet he has game.
Yeah, it definitely does, bro.
Yeah, you know Mance hoops all day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bro.
Look at you in the muscle tee there in Ohio in March.
It's warm up here, all right? This is just only own muscle tee.
It's like a warm 40 or something.
It was 70 degrees here today.
What?
It was like in the 60s. It wasn't quite 70, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's warm.
I was like, I'm in Florida. I'm a Florida girl now. You couldn't tell by my skin tone, but because I still don't go outside. So, leading us to our next round, we had another Warriors round 2. Oberyn Martell versus Garland Tyrell. Oberyn took this by a 54% margin, which is huge.
Yeah.
He had 1,263 votes, and Garland had 381, which might be the lowest. I'd have to look up the stats.
381? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Sorry, Garland.
Yeah,
Yikes.
better luck next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't surprising. None of this was surprising to me, but
I do like Garland. I'll say when I was reading the books the first time and you read you meet Garland Tyrell, or not the first time you meet him, but just when Jamie sees him dueling and sparring with three people and he's, holding his own and I think winning that matchup. That's pretty cool. Garland is a very gallant warrior, but I think he's pretty doomed to die to Euron in the next round here. But I loved our tweet regent on this one from @shadowcat_Bex, who tweeted, "Anyone who dies because of monologuing deserves what he gets." About Garland.
Oh, it's so true. I love it. Love Shadowcat Bex too.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest tweets that we even found on here. I loved that one.
Yeah, that one was great. Love it. I love the takes. Keep tweeting, guys.
God damn it, Oberyn.
I know, like that's all it was. I have a lot of people that I could put under there, probably myself included. Like I die from talking too much.
I will definitely go monologuing for sure, 100%.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
All right.
And he goes on to face Aemon the Dragon Knight here, who, interesting. Aemon was against Bobby B, Robert Baratheon. And yeah, Aemon won. This kind of surprised me. I mean, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. There's plenty to hate about Robert Baratheon, but yeah, Aemon the Dragon Knight took this out from him. And I'm just gonna read the tweet here because I think it kind of encapsulates this pretty well. This was from Sam @Amy Gatehouse. Number 22 losing to 43. Turns out the seed isn't so strong.
That's so good.
That was a good one.
Shocked.
Right?
I was shocked. Yeah. I thought Bobby B had stands. Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
what was happening?
Yeah, I think people.
Can you answer this?
I think what really happens is the more time that we go without either the show or the books, people are really continuing to analyze the source material. And what you read is that Bobby B was, abusive to both his wife and his children, both emotionally and physically towards Joffrey. And there's not much left to stand really after that. Yes, young Bobby B was a great warrior, but that's it. If you're going down the list of things to like about Robert Baratheon, it's when he was young, he was good at swinging an axe. All right, what's the next thing that was
funny
good
as
about
hell, man? He's
all right,
funny as
sense
hell.
of humor. What's the next thing that was good about him?
Yeah, I guess he's entertaining. Funniest. He was funny as hell. Great memes.
Great memes.
Don't
That's
at
true.
me. Don't at me.
Yeah. All right.
Don't at me.
I did think he would win this. The name recognition from Robert Baratheon to Aemon the Dragon Knight is shocking. So don't get me wrong. I am kind of surprised here. I do think out of round 3, the next round matchups, I bet Oberyn Martell versus Aemon the Dragon Knight is the biggest margin of victory towards a single character. I think Oberyn will beat Aemon by the largest margin of victory in the next round.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. I mean, sorry, not hating, but kind of.
You're
not
salty.
hating, but I'm kind of like, no, not really. I mean, I don't stan Robert. Obviously, I stan
Stannis.
One True King.
King.
Which relies on Bobby B's claim. So that's really where I was going.
That's true. Right. You're like, yeah, he was an asshole, but Stannis, look here. I mean, Yep. And oh boy, yeah, that was our last matchup here. So if we go into our round 2 leaderboard, we've kind of talked about this throughout, but let's go through this here. Do you want to go down our top 5 and then just kind of talk about what we expect from these top 5 vote getters?
Sure thing. Which is really interesting. Out of the top 5, they face each other in round 3. So
yeah.
2 of these will not have the opportunity to move on again. Yeah. So number 1 is Daenerys Targaryen with 2,006 votes. Number 2 is Jon Snow with 1,784 votes. Number 3 is Sansa Stark with 1,713 votes. Number 4 is Brienne of Tarth with 1,592 votes. And number 5 is Davos Seaworth with 1,488 votes. Which next round, Daenerys and Jon face off, which we already talked about, which they are number 1 and number 2 for round 2, which that should be very interesting match. And the match that I thought was going to be the most interesting, but it's looking like it's the second most interesting, will be Sansa and Davos. And Brienne seems like she'll be pretty safe. Actually, she's going as we're doing this, and she's pretty safe. So
it's going. I think it's going on currently. Yeah, she's going to win. Spoiler alert. It's. I don't remember. Anyway, it's not important. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, and going in, I can do a few more. Just they're not on our leaderboard, but number 6 is Sandor Clegane.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
Yes. 7 is Tyrion. Surprise. 8 is Robb Stark. 9 is Missandei, and 10 was Tywin, which was interesting. Wow. But that was really
Missandei and Tywin.
That's why I didn't include those, because I was like, people hated Tywin was close though, which is why I think like people were voting harder there. But like, that's competition. Kind of left that one alone.
Yeah. I do think. Who you gonna pick? Sansa versus Davos. Who do you think wins up?
Who do I want to win, or who do I think will win?
Both. So first, who do you want to win?
I want Davos to win. I think Sansa will win.
I think Sansa's gonna win too. I think the Queen in the North is strong this year, and I think she's gonna win. And total vote count, I'm curious to see, because we're paying attention to total vote count this year, and who knows how it's really going to play a factor, but she got a lot more. She got like 225 more votes than Davos. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see Sansa win that one, which will be very sad for Davos to go 4 years second and then out of this round. But if Davos does win, I think he's going to have a good shot at making it out of this bracket. I mean, he will still then have to go up against Daenerys or Jon, which will be difficult, but the big shots bracket's no joke. So that's pretty much all I have today here. Any final thoughts here today, Christina?
No, just looking forward to round 3, and I cannot wait to just for these stats to stabilize. As you know, as the rounds go on, all the stats stabilize, and also Kyle and I have a lot less people to work with. Yeah. we're working with a lot right now. Yeah. If you can imagine, all these numbers have to be calculated somewhere. So thank you, Kyle, for all the work that you do. And I cannot wait to see how this all plays out this year. It seems like a very interesting year. It's definitely unique in a lot of ways. What are your thoughts?
No, yeah, I think so too. I think it's interesting. Thank you for all the work you do. You put a ton of stats analysis work, and Christina's doing some PowerPoint stuff that's been extra work, and I really appreciate you putting in the time for that, Christina. Thank you to everybody who's continuing to vote and participate. We enjoy it. We enjoy just participating with everybody else. To Davos Fingers for all the time that they put into it, and of course to George R.R. Martin for creating this world that we all get to live in, right? So I am very excited that the total amount of characters in the tournament is falling off. So as sad as I am for like Nimble Dick to be out of the tournament, I'm not sad to not have to calculate his statistics. So I think it's going to be easier for us moving forward from that standpoint, which is good. But we are very excited to continue covering it as we begin to narrow towards the final here. It will speed up quicker than it has before. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Until next time, until we are back covering, I think we're going to do one episode for round 3. We'll see. We're going to discuss it. But, guys, until next time, everybody stay healthy, stay safe, stay indoors if you can with the virus out there. And, guys, have a good one. Thanks.